Hey, it's David Chapin. Welcome to the Wolf Sports YouTube channel. The 2025 NFL season's finally here. Instead of going through full playoff picks, which I think could be pretty chalky this year, I'm sharing three big predictions, one from the AFC, one from the NFC, and then my Super Bowl 60 prediction. At Wolf Sports, we watch all 32 teams, watch the all 22. We don't go by the mainstream narratives and talking points. If you like our content, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already and giving this video a thumbs up. Let's start with the AFC. I was going to say maybe the Chiefs do not win the NFC West and the Broncos or the Chargers can overtake them, but I'm not going with that. I like the offseason Kansas City had, headlined by getting Josh Simmons at number 32 overall, a massive steal as their left tackle. Stay tuned to find out if they're my Super Bowl pick to represent the AFC this year again. But I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers not only making the playoffs, but being competitive in a playoff game in January. In recent years, when the Steelers have made the playoffs, it sort of felt like they weren't going to really compete. Thought maybe last year against the Ravens, being a divisional game, they might have a chance. In the end, they didn't really match up with Baltimore well enough. So I'm going to say this season, the Steelers do get back to the playoffs in a crowded AFC with elite quarterbacks, a field that's going to be tough to crack. So really, we can begin with Aaron Rodgers. I'll say it does work out there with the Steelers, with Mike Tomlin. A lot of respect between them. And you notice the past 2 years leading into the season with the Jets, it seemed like the Jets were maybe most talked about team with Rodgers under center. Hasn't been the case this summer. That's a major positive, flying under the radar. Ben Roethlisberger recently said he went to Steelers camp and the connection between Rodgers and DK Metcalf, who the Steelers also acquired in the offseason in a trade with Seattle. Big Ben thinks it's going to be special. They got Jonnu Smith at tight end, joining Pat Freiermuth. You want to see the run game get going with Jalen Warren and rookie Caleb Johnson. See who steps up at receiver. Jonnu Smith might ultimately be sort of the number 2 target there. Maybe Rodgers uses the tight ends more than he typically does. Watch Broderick Jones moving from right tackle to left tackle, protecting Rodgers' blind side. Obviously very important. And while I began with Rodgers, such a big storyline, a future Hall of Fame quarterback going there in what's going to be his final NFL season, almost certainly. But it starts with the defense in Pittsburgh. Adding Jalen Ramsey, another aggressive veteran addition. Signing Darius Slay, who was most recently with the Eagles for a few years, won the Super Bowl last year with them. Joining Joey Porter Jr., an underrated potential shutdown corner. TJ Watt, we know how he can wreck games and how valuable he is for the Steelers. Pittsburgh, I think, can get in the postseason. It might be between the Bengals, Broncos, Chargers, the Steelers, and then potentially teams like the Colts, the Raiders. Pete Carroll's going to be competitive. Steelers get in and are not an easy out in the playoffs this time around. Shifting conferences over to the NFC, this prediction sort of indicates how the NFC West, pretty unpredictable, and I could see all 4 teams winning it. So I'll say that we get 3 NFC West teams in the postseason. Not sure which 3. I think they all could be good. The Cardinals have been slowly building up that defense under Jonathan Gannon year 3. I'm a little more unsure of the offense, but the plan there has been, since Gannon was hired, basically build up the defense, and then Kyler Murray can run around, make plays, take care of the offense. We'll see if Marvin Harrison Jr. can make a year 2 leap. Defensively, watch Will Johnson joining that cornerback group, their second-round pick, especially with Walter Nolan, the first-round pick at defensive tackle, off to a disappointing start. Basically missed the summer with injury. Going to miss the start of the season. Was somewhat of a surprise selection by them. Depending on who you talk to, some character concerns with him. We'll see if he can get on the field and make an impact for a team looking to make the next step. Seahawks just won 10 games last year, just missed the playoffs. In year 1 under Mike McDonald. Now Sam Darnold at a quarterback. No DK Metcalf, who mentioned was traded to the Steelers. Cooper Kupp's in there now, joining Jackson Smith and Jigba. The ground game for them, part of why I'm optimistic and leaning toward them as a potential playoff participant. The ground game with Ken Walker, and keep an eye on Zach Charbonnet. But yeah, they're going to run it with new offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. That's what Mike McDonald has made clear he wants. That'll make things easier on Sam Darnold. Defense headlined by star cornerback Devin Witherspoon. Darnold plays anywhere close to where he did at Minnesota last season. I think the Seahawks have a really great shot to make the playoffs. The 49ers, I'm watching the receiving group. Juwan Jennings, uncertain. He's not happy. The team's not happy with him not being happy. He has good chemistry with Brock Purdy, an important piece, underrated piece. Ricky Pearsall, second receiver they're looking to step up. And of course, if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy and George Kittle stays healthy, they're 2 chess pieces at running back and tight end that Brock Purdy knows how to find. move the ball, convert third downs. And then on defense, Robert Saleh back as the defensive coordinator. Nick Bosa, high-impact edge player. The young secondary, Malik Mustafa needs to get healthy, but Renardo Green, one of the rising stars in the league, who maybe not a household name yet at all, but that side of the ball can be a force. And then the Rams, of course, earlier in the offseason, consider them potentially my pick in the NFC. Added Devontae Adams. They put the Eagles on the ropes in the NFC divisional round last year in snowy Philadelphia. Nearly came back and won it. Matthew Stafford dealing with the back for most of the summer. Seems to be good now. But I think it's good that Jimmy Garoppolo got a lot of reps. I think even if he's under center with Sean McVay as the head coach, I wouldn't count out the Rams if Stafford does miss time. Adams is going to be a boost for a team in the red zone and scoring territory that struggled to get the ball in the end zone last season. He meshes well with Puka Nacua. And the defense, that young group got a lot of attention last year, deservingly so. If they take another step, Cameron Kitchens, another underrated potential future star I'll mention at safety. The one concern with this prediction of 3 NFC West teams making the playoffs is if they sort of knock each other down a bit, splitting games against each other, if they're all around like the 10-7, 9-8, maybe you only get one. But I think all 4 teams have a shot to win it. Wouldn't be surprised if any of them miss. Wouldn't be surprised if any of them win the division. And let's conclude with my Super Bowl 60 pick. I've been going back and forth and changing my pick for a while. Was considering the Chiefs again. However, just thinking about it, getting the 4 straight Super Bowls, incredibly difficult, obviously. The Bills have done it in the 90s. I consider Buffalo. Broncos a sneaky pick. I want to see how their young receivers step up. If they do, I wouldn't be surprised by them. But I'm going with the Ravens, representing the AFC. I think Lamar Jackson sort of figured it out last postseason against the Bills with the 88-yard drive that almost tied the game until the 2-point conversion didn't pan out. So that's scary with how unstoppable he's been in the regular season, especially last year. If he has figured it out in the playoffs with Derrick Henry running the ball, tough to stop that late in the season when it's cold. Henry and just those two together. The defense, I think getting Malachi Starks in the first round, just the perfect Baltimore Raven, fits right in. Jair Alexander, same way at cornerback, veteran guy. I think the best roster in the conference, barely over the Chiefs, really close between those two. But the Ravens, with Jackson figuring it out, make Super Bowl 60. In the NFC, Eagles have a real shot to get back there with that roster. I love the mindset they have. Jalen Hurts didn't even put on a Super Bowl ring. They're on to the next one and trying to get back and win another. But I'm going to go with the Lions, staying healthy, balanced offense, plenty of weapons for Jared Goff. Isaac Tesla has been impressing as a rookie receiver. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporte at tight end, my breakout pick, Jameson Williams, to take another step and become maybe a total monster in 2025. And then the defense, Aiden Hutchinson, wreaking havoc up front. The cornerback group can be very stingy. They are very stout against the run with a healthy group up front, only McNeil and company. Tyleik Williams, their first-round pick. They do a good job against Derrick Henry. Remember when these two teams matched up? Henry wasn't even there for Baltimore, but when the Ravens and Lions played a couple of seasons ago, it was ugly for Detroit. I say it's much closer, a thrilling game, and I'm going to go with the Lions pulling off an upset in Super Bowl 60, winning their first Super Bowl, beating the Ravens. I know that would be a fun matchup. A lot of people, a lot of fans could get behind. It would certainly feel fresh to see those two teams in the big game. So I want to jump around a little bit, give those 2 predictions, one in each conference. Do you guys agree that the Steelers will make the playoffs again, but this time be more competitive? Do you see the NFC West being wide open with 4 competitive teams? And what about your Super Bowl 60 pick? Let us know all 3 in the comments. If you like this content, we hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Football is back and it's going to be fun. Thank you for watching.